Hey guys, my name is Barbara. For a long time, I had a great relationship with my dad. Until I revealed a shocking truth that changed our lives forever. It's always been me and my dad. My mom died when I was a little kid, and my dad never talks about her. For most of my life, it wasn't a big deal. My dad was just like any other dad. And even though I was sad, I didn't have a mother, I still feel like everyone else. But when I hit high school, things started to change. Oddly enough, it started with a tank top. I ran out the door to school one morning and my dad grabbed my arm. He snapped, "Where are you going dressed like that?" I was super confused. For a few months, that top had been my favorite. And on top of that, it was 90 degrees outside. It's not like anything was showing. I told my dad that there wasn't anything inappropriate about my shirt, and he started berating me. He asked how could I live so shamefully, disrespecting my body like that, and disappointing my dad, dressing like a girl who got around. I felt dirty. I went upstairs to put on a sweatshirt, and for the first time ever, I felt gross looking at my body. Should I be ashamed of it? Do I look like a girl who got around? Why had my dad said such awful things? When I got home from school the next day, I was completely shocked. My entire closet had been taken down. My tank tops, my skirts, my low-cut shirts, and dresses all had disappeared. My dad had thrown out half of the closet. When I confronted him about it, he told me I shouldn't miss those clothes. So, I started wearing only the t-shirts he left in there. I couldn't help but feel sleazy, like it was somehow wrong that I wanted to dress just like my peers. But that was just the beginning of my dad acting weird. Whenever I tried talking about my friends, my dad would shoot me down. He would ask for insane amount of details, like who are they? Do they act up? Why are you hanging around with them? Who are their parents? It was almost like an interrogation. Every time I opened my mouth, I stopped talking about my friends, about school, about anything. It started to seem like he was jealous of everyone in my life. One night, I asked to go out with my friends, like I did every other week. It didn't go well. My dad started yelling at me and asked why I didn't want to spend time with him. Was I too good for him now? Was I doing something out there that was much more important than spending time with him? I didn't know how to answer any of those questions. I mean, he was my dad. I loved him. But I was a teenager. I wanted to go out with friends. There wasn't anything wrong with that. So I stood up to him. And I told him he didn't own me. And I was allowed to have fun without feeling guilty. He grabbed me by the arm and threw me into my room. I couldn't believe it. With a click, the door locked on me. And I sat in the dark. How had my dad become so obsessed over me? How did he expect me to live like this? Within the next few days, he made me write down all my account passwords. He made me give him my phone at the end of each day. I started to notice all the boys on my social media accounts were blocked, even friends I had had for years. I couldn't say anything because every time I opened my mouth, I would practically feel my dad's hands on my arm again. And I was scared. Every moment of my life, my dad wanted me to be with him. The minute I got home from school, the minute I woke up, I had to be available to talk to him. It was like he was obsessed with me. I started dreaming about after high school, when I would finally be able to escape him. When I would be able to live my own life. I mean, this had to be the worst it could get, right? But it wasn't. As I left for school one morning, I noticed my backpack was missing, and I saw my dad sipping his coffee like nothing was wrong. He slid a book across the table to me. It was a homeschool guide. I felt my heart shattering into a million pieces. I told him no, but he lost it into a crying fit. He started throwing things around and screaming like an annoying child. I was terrified. What if he did something to me? One night, I couldn't sleep. I looked at the mirror and didn't recognize myself. I didn't feel like a person anymore. It's like he had taken my identity away from me. I laid down in bed and spoke to my mother and said if she was looking over me, I needed her help. And I told her that I was scared and I couldn't do this anymore. Tears were running down my face. And when I looked up, I saw my dad standing right in front of me. I was embarrassed and terrified the next. Then he threw a book at me, and I ran into the closet and locked it. He started screaming and pounding on the door, saying, "Never mention that horrible woman that left us again." My mother? A horrible person? She died of cancer, hadn't she? Was she blaming her because she died? Or was there something that I didn't know about? Later that night, I snuck into the attic where we keep all of our files. I was looking for her death certificate, hoping it could give me some kind of information. But what I saw changed everything. My birth certificate. On it, my name wasn't the same at all. My dad's last name was totally different, and my mom had a last name I didn't recognize. Had my parents changed my name? Then I heard footsteps. I panicked and leapt out of the window and onto the roof. I knew I was never going back. As I ran across the street, I saw my dad watching me through the window. I went to the library and searched for my mom's name online. My heart dropped. She was a successful lawyer living in Montreal, and she looked exactly like me. I dialed her office number. My body was in a cold sweat, and my heart was racing. But when I heard her voice, all the anxiety went away. I told her who I was, and she started to cry, and she told me the truth. My dad had been abusive, and she had planned to leave him after suing him for custody of me. And he disappeared with me. He changed our names so we can hide. My mom had been looking for me for years, but with no trace. She bought a plane ticket that very same day, and ever since then, I have been living with her. We talked about my dad's abuse, and she said that with a lot of abuse starts with control and isolation. And I know that my dad had been heading down this road for a long time. And for the first time in years, I am really happy.
Hi, I'm Andy. I've always had a particular sense of humor. I also used to have a girlfriend who I guess wasn't compatible with my sense of humor. Let me tell you how I found out. So my girlfriend invited me to dinner with her and her parents. Blimey, I'd never met them, and I got pretty nervous. You know that milestone that any man prefers to see far ahead, but alas, I knew it must be done. I met them nicely, I should tell you, and it started off in a good way. Then the idea slapped my mind that I should do some comedy to make a good impression and amuse them a little, as they seemed deadly serious. So naive I was. When I saw they were gonna serve baked potatoes, I decided to pretend I didn't know what potatoes were. That would be hilarious, I thought. It was, in a certain way, but it also backfired on me. So first, when they served the potato on my plate, I acted really strange. I gave out an impressive mixture of curiosity, confusion, astonishment, and interest on my face. They noticed it and seemed confused, but didn't ask me anything. So I launched my idiotic group. This looks very interesting. What is this? They stared at me, and the mother said, "It's a baked potato." Oh, interesting. A baked... What is it again? A potato. A potato? Oh, interesting. Never heard of a potato. Looks pretty good. Unbelievably, they didn't see I was clowning. This was the moment I started to suspect they have literally no sense of humor. I knew it would be a humiliating, epic fail if I admitted to making a joke. So I decided to act naturally till the very end. They asked me, very incredulous, if I really had never eaten a potato. I sigh and tell them yes. Not only have I never eaten a potato, but I also have never even heard of the word potato. This went on for a bit. The more I insisted, the more they started to suspect I was goofing. I had to commit 100% at this point. At one point, her annoyed father said something like, "Enough is enough. You're kidding us. Admit it." And I said, "Sir, before today, I never heard of a potato. I still don't know what a potato is, other than some kind of food. I don't know what to tell you." He started getting red with anger. The last straw came when I decided to take a bite of the potato. And when I did, I made a high-pitched noise and said, "Tastes very strange." And that is when the father started yelling at me. The mother kept saying, "What are you doing?" And my girlfriend went to some other room. Finally, the father said I should get out. I said it was irrational to treat me like this, just because I never heard of a potato before. After that, I left things. What I thought was that people with no sense of humor bore me a lot, and that I needed to break up with my girlfriend. When I came home, I told everything to my father, and he thanked God is an old prankster. Even worse than me, he was laughing his head off as he told me how to round up the story with my girlfriend in a hilarious way, but it wasn't a surprise. So I texted her, said I was sorry for what happened, and that I was inviting her to my place for dinner with my parents to apologize. I never mentioned it being a joke though, so she comes to my house, greeted by my parents, and it all starts off very nicely. Everyone's chatting and she's relaxed. The potato story doesn't come out at all, but at one point, while we're clearing the table, my dad calls her aside and asks if potatoes were served at our parents' dinner. When she admits it, he looks alarmed and says, "That's bad. I've always tried to keep Andy away from those creeps." Then he makes an enigmatic face and walks away without going deep into detail. You should have seen her. If she were a less polite person, she would leave immediately, but she remained until the end of dessert, petrified, and looking as if she was at Ted Bundy's house for dinner. She finished her ice cream and she was out in a couple of minutes. Me and my parents were roaring with laughter. I never heard from her since. It could be a sad story if I wasn't deeply convinced you can have many girlfriends, but only one sense of humor. So it's easier to change girlfriend than to try and pretend to be a person you're not.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I want to tell you about our school bus driver. He was not what he seemed to be at first. At the beginning of a new school year, we had a new bus driver. Everybody noticed right away that he was kind of weird, like he never smiled, he always looked at us with this creepy look on his face. Sometimes he would ask kids questions, like how their day was, and other questions like that. Those seemed like innocent questions, but the way how he looked at us creeped us out, and his messy hair and unshaved face made us think that there were more to those questions than just innocent curiosity. Soon people started talking about him, spreading rumors that he was an alcoholic or that he had been in jail. Everyday rumors would become even more crazier, like he had a fake name because he was hiding from the police. Of course those rumors were too crazy to be true, but I was still scared of him, like many others. I started to notice how other kids answered his questions. Some didn't say anything and went straight to their seats. Others answered stuff like, "None of your business." And finally, some straightened up and insulted him. After a while, he stopped talking to us. Once during the weekend, I was shopping in a mall, and I saw our bus driver. He looked even weirder than before. He was wearing a jacket too big for him and a hat, holding his hands in his pocket, with his usual weird look in his eyes. I don't know why, but I took a picture of him. I guess I just wanted to show my friends at school later, especially because one of my friends was really interested in all the rumors about him. I hastily brought my phone from my bag, took a quick picture, and continued shopping. I was done after 15 minutes and exited the mall when I noticed him following me through the crowd. I got scared and I started to walk faster. Maybe he noticed me, taking the picture of him. Or even worse, maybe he wanted to do something bad to me. I almost started running when he shouted, "Sarah, wait!" He even remembered my name. Then he continued shouting, and I heard something like, "Your keys!" I looked into my bag, and my keys weren't there. Probably they fell out when I took my phone out. I was still scared of him, but I stopped because there were many people around, and it was safe. He came up to me and gave me my keys back. He asked why I ran. I didn't know what to say, and then he smiled awkwardly and said, "Oh, I guess you think I'm creepy, huh? Sorry about that." After that, he went away. I felt bad because I realized that he was just a bit weird, not a bad person. I thought about it a bit more, and he actually had learned everybody's names since he started working as a driver. He was just trying to be good at his job despite being shy. I quickly deleted the picture from my phone. I was still a bit suspicious, but I tried to be nicer to him, chit-chatting a bit every day, and he was very happy about it. And he had a genuine smile on his face every time I entered the bus. He didn't do anything weird or never asked creepy questions, just usual stuff. I tried to explain it to everyone else, but they didn't want to listen. They continued to harass him instead. But the worst was yet to come. I guess parents found out all about these rumors and went to the school to complain. I couldn't imagine what our bus driver had to go through afterwards trying to clean up his name. But I was sure that he would be able to explain it, because he didn't do anything wrong, right? Next week, I entered the bus, and to my surprise, there was another bus driver. I asked him what happened to our usual guy, but he said he didn't know. After a while, like a month later, I was at the mall again, and I went to the food court to eat, and I saw him working there. I immediately went up to him and asked what happened. He was very reluctant to talk because there were a lot of other people around, but I asked if we could talk for a few minutes during his break. He thought about it for a few seconds, and then agreed. It turns out they had to let him go after numerous complaints caused by rumors. He said they had no choice but to fire him because parents were relentless. Well, they had a choice, but they thought it would be easier to find a new guy. He found a new job only after a month, and because of the scandal, it was the only choice he had. He was very sad and devastated because all he wanted to do was just do a good job and be nice to kids. It was painful to see how the life of a good person was ruined over rumors. And I understand that there are genuine bad people out there who take advantage of teenagers, but he wasn't like that. It's not always that people who look different are bad. Someone who looks perfectly normal can turn out to be the worst person ever. While people who look a bit weird can be great. And I believe people need to be more careful when judging others. Did you like this story? Subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to like and comment on this video. If you want to see your story in one of our videos, send it to this email address.